All right, Selection Sunday for the men's NCAA tournament is come and gone, and there's always great debate about who made the field of 68 and which schools got left out of the big dance. So we're going to break it all down and preview the tournament with one of the best voices covering college hoops. He's the co-host of the Bill Rhoden on Sports podcast. It's my guy, Jamal Murphy, a.k.a. the Blackatologist, who joins me now. Murph, what's going on, man?
I'm hanging in there, man. It's been a long day, waiting for Selection Sunday, sitting in front of the TV, seeing what they were actually going to do. It's one of my favorite days of the year. And as always, we had some
Yeah.
questionable decisions, but also, it's a great day for many teams out there, of course.
Yeah, I feel like Selection Sunday is always like, it's kind of like Christmas for college basketball fans. However, somebody's always going to be disappointed. No matter what, it never fails. Somebody is going to be disappointed, or somebody's also going to be really mad. We never know how that's going to play out. But let's start talking about this. I got to talk about a team and alumni from the school that probably isn't disappointed, but I'm sure people from other schools are disappointed. So we're going to start with the team that was on the bubble. That is North Carolina. UNC had a 1-12 quad one record this season, Murph. They were one of the first four in, despite having not many quality wins. Did the Tar Heels deserve to get in this tournament?
I don't think so. But at the same time, I had them as my first team out. I did have to consider the brand name North Carolina. You had to figure that that would give them some kind of sway with the committee if the fact that the chairman was their athletic director didn't have anything to do with it. And I'm not really, I'm not trying to go there as far as like him having some undue influence, but um, but no, I don't think they really deserve to be there. But the excuse is they had great computer numbers. Not great, but they had good enough computer numbers to get into the tournament. But when you really looked at their resume, like you said, they were 1-12 in quad one. That one win, I was there. It was at Madison Square Garden. They beat UCLA on a neutral court. But that's pretty much all they did in terms of beating good competition. Like you said, they had 12 opportunities, couldn't get it done. They couldn't get it done against Duke without Cooper Flag a couple days ago. So I thought that that would play a role into the committee, realizing that they probably didn't belong. And really, I really feel bad for a team like Boise State coming from a smaller conference, coming from the Mountain West, who had a better season than North Carolina, had more quad one wins, went to the finals of the Mountain West Conference. So it's a team like that who got snubbed. Also, West Virginia got snubbed. West Virginia had six quad one wins, had wins at Kansas, neutral court over Arizona, neutral court over Gonzaga, who's in the field also. So when you compare them to those other teams, I have to say that North Carolina did not deserve to be there.
Yeah, I think the one for me is, look, I'm a Pitt alum. I do not like to give any love to West Virginia when I can, but one of my producers, Brian Wachowski, who roots for that team in Morgantown, he would say they deserve to be in, and I can't disagree. I think they did deserve to be in over North Carolina. But hey, UNC brand, Murph, it is strong. It is strong and
It is
alive
strong.
heading into this tournament for sure. Now, the SEC, they wanted to stay. A record 14 of the 16 teams in the conference made the NCAA tournament. Did the SEC deserve that many teams here in the Big Dance?
I think they did. I mean, when you look at how the committee makes its decision, they tell you up front what they're basing it on, the metrics, but also the quad one wins, the quad two victories we always talk about. The fact that that league was so stacked, they just had so many opportunities to get those type of wins, and enough of those teams did that. And it was hard. You can't fault the team for being in a great conference. All those 14 of those teams, they did what they had to do. Texas was probably the last SEC team to get in, and you compare their resume. They had like 6, 7 quad one wins, and also the SEC dominated the non-conference. Before the conference season started, so it was hard to argue that that was the best conference in the country. So I have no complaints about how many teams they got in. We know that it's the age of the mega conference, so a lot of these teams, switched conferences, ended up in the SEC. So the more and more we see this, where conferences get much bigger, there are going to be more teams coming from these conferences. So, and we're supposed to take the best teams in the country, regardless of what conference they play in. And I think as far as the SEC is concerned, I think that happened.
Yeah, I think it happened. It's no doubt been the best conference in the country thus far this season in men's college basketball. All right, let's look at this tournament. I want to go through this region by region. Auburn, number one overall seed. They are in the South, but they could be basically playing a road game in Lexington in the second round if they advance, along with Louisville. So, did Auburn get a fair draw here in the South, or are there any other teams in this region that intrigue you?
I mean, that's a little suspect that they have to play. They might have to play Louisville in Kentucky, um, but I'm not going to complain too much. That's a team that they should beat. Creighton could even beat Louisville, and we wouldn't even be having this discussion. But I think all these teams, all the number one seeds, this is going to be a fun tournament. There's going to be a lot of challenges along the way for all these number one seeds. It's not going to be easy for any team in this tournament. We have a balanced field, even among the top one and two seeds, but the three, four seeds are tough all the way down the line. So I'm not going to cry because Oregon might have a tough second round game. They're not going to be the only one. So yeah, yes, Auburn has a tough road, but so do the other number one seeds.
Yeah, they are not alone in this. So that's the South. We're going to move over to the East region where Duke, they're the number one seed in that region. Cooper Flagg is healthy and he's expected to play, as we found out. But do you like the Blue Devils getting to the Final Four out of this region, or is there another team that people might be sleeping on here in the East?
I look at it. I mean, you got to be impressed with what Duke did in the ACC tournament, given that the ACC was weak this year, but still they lose their best player. He was their statistical leader in points, rebounds, assists, and you lose that guy, and you still run through the ACC tournament, win that ACC championship. That was impressive. We'll see how he looks when he gets back. I can't really see him being 100% as bad as that injury looked, turning that ankle completely on its side, coming from high in the air directly on that ankle. So we'll see how it looks, but if he's about 75, 80% at least, I think that Duke will make the Final Four. They're just so tough defensively. That's the key for Duke. They hold teams down. They're similar, defensively to St. John's, who I'm sure we'll get to. But you know, when I look in that region, you have Alabama, who could be, who could cause problems down the road if Alabama gets to them. But Alabama struggled a little bit late in the season. Wisconsin maybe could give them some issues, but I don't think they have enough firepower. You got Arizona in there, and the same thing. I don't think that they're on the same level as Duke. So I do see Duke coming out of that region and into the Final Four.
All right, got Duke coming out of the East region. Let's go out west, where you and I texted about this before we started recording, because I was a bit shocked at St. John's. They placed here, not that they got a two seed. I expected St. John's to get a two seed, but being placed out west, that was a shock to me. Florida, they're the top seed in the Western region. Which team do you like to come out of the West region, and why? The New Yorkers are going to want to know this. Why is it St. John's?
Well, St. John's, yeah, I was surprised too. I think it was like everybody thought, everybody in the know kind of thought that the St. John's would get that two seed in the East, opposite Duke, which would give them a chance to play if they got past the first two rounds. It would give them a chance to play in Newark, which would be a nice home court advantage. They did not get that. They were shipped out west. I think I was surprised about that. They're stuck with maybe the hottest team in the country in Florida, who's been great all season, but really turned it up this last couple weeks. They won the vaunted SEC tournament today, so it's going to be tough for St. John's, but I do think they have what it takes. And just like you talk about Auburn having a tough road, it's not going to be easy. I mean, if St. John's gets by Omaha in the first round, they'd have to play either a John Calipari coach team or a Bill Self coach team. So you got Patino in a matchup. No matter who wins that first round game, it's going to be a classic coaching matchup for that. And then they would have to see Florida in the regional final, and there Patino be coaching against Walter Clayton, someone he actually coached at Iona before he transferred to Florida, so he'll be very familiar with him, and he's a great player for Florida. But I can see St. John's getting it done. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not, it could go either way, but it's not something that I don't think that they can accomplish. When you have Patino, he's been there, done that. Probably, I don't think there's any question he's the best coach in the country. And then this team is just clicking on all cylinders. They've been machine-like, for the past month or so. Even, they could get down by, a large margin, but you just have this feeling that they're going to come back, and they keep doing it. Patino has alluded to it, saying that his team never cracks. They never wilt under any sign of pressure. They've been playing in a pressure cooker of an environment in Madison Square Garden. It doesn't get any bigger than that, and they've risen to the occasion. So I think that they're definitely capable, and just like I said, with all these number one seeds, the two seeds are very strong this year.
Yeah.
So this it's not going to be a cakewalk for any of these number one seeds.
Yeah, and look, it brings excitement for the St. John's and their fans, right? And the fact that you believe they could get to a Final Four. And what a time it would be here in New York City if St. John's were to reach a Final Four. Last region we have to talk about, the Midwest region. And this region, looking at this for me, this looks like one where there could be some upsets. I mean, you can see this in any region, and we will obviously see upsets in any region. But Houston, they're the number one seed. They've been a strong team pretty much all season long. But then you talked about a two seed, right? Tennessee, they've been very dangerous. They were just in the SEC tournament final. Who are the dangerous dark horses in the Midwest region? Are they more? Does it just go as far as Tennessee, or do you see other teams that can be dark horses here in this region?
Well, first I got to say Houston has had a great season. They've been great for the past 2-3 years. Kelvin Sampson, definitely one of the best coaches in the business. They're gritty, tough as usual. It's going to be a tough out for anybody who faces Houston. Dark horses, obviously Tennessee is a problem there, but Kentucky has played good teams very well. They have I think 11 or 12 quad one victories this season. They were in the SEC, so that they're not they're no stranger to playing tough competition, and they've beaten a lot of good teams this year. So Kentucky could be a problem. If you want to go deep into the weeds, you got McNeese State. They're a tough team out of a small conference. They have big-time players, big-time transfers who came from big-time schools, so they're not going to be intimidated. That's a team I think could get to a Sweet 16 and face Houston. But when all is said and done, when I look at this region, I really like Houston. And I know Houston has let some people down in the last year or so in the tournament, but I think they're as tough as anybody. They're a whole different beast. They're also similar to St. John's in terms of the defensive intensity that they bring, that you really, that teams won't be used to. I don't care what conference that you play in. So I really like Houston coming out of that region this year.
All right, like Houston coming out of the Midwest there. See if Kelvin Sampson and the guys down in H-Town can get over the hump. All right, Murph, last thing for me. I know it's early. I get it. You probably haven't even finished filling out your bracket, but we always have to get a prediction. Who is your pick to win the national championship this year here in 2025? Who wins it all, survives March Madness, is the last team standing? Who you got?
Well, I did print a bracket and fill it out quickly off the top of the dome. I'm not sure if I want to be held to this so early. I do kind of want a couple days to think about it, but I'll let you know what came out of this first bracket that I filled out. And first, I'll tell you the Final Four. I have Michigan State, St. John's, Duke, and Houston. Then I had Houston facing St. John's in the final.
Oh.
And I have Houston beating St. John's. Kelvin Sampson getting a national championship in a defensive battle, the likes we may have never seen in terms of the intensity that would come out of that game. So I like Kelvin Sampson to cut down the nets. I like St. John's to get there and almost realize Louis Carnesecca's dream.
Wow. St. John's, not just in the Final Four, folks. Although we're not holding Murph to this, just to be clear. We are not holding him to this. This is very early, but he has them in the national championship game. If we're sitting here in April talking about St. John's in the national championship game, fun times in New York. It'll be really fun times in New York. But should be a fun March Madness NCAA tournament on the men's side. That is my guy, Jamal Murphy, a.k.a. The Blackatologist. Check him out on Bill Rhoden on Sports Podcast. Also hosting the Up Next podcast. Check that out as well, too. Murph, Always a pleasure to talk some college basketball with you, and we'll see how that bracket looks in a couple of weeks.
Yes, and check out Hoops Seth Davis's new site, Hoops HQ. I'm gonna write a West region preview for tomorrow morning. So St. John's, that happens to be St. John's region. So check that out.
All right, check that out. Hoops HQ. That's a good one. Murph, appreciate you, man. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.